The title of our presentation is Science, Doubt, Resistance, and Denial, Implications for Sustainability, Education, and Communication. I'm Gale Sinatra, and I'm going to be presenting with my colleague Jennifer Gribbin. We're from the University of Southern California. I've been writing a lot about public understanding of science lately. Why does it matter? This is a beach border between two counties in Florida, and it tells different story about the stay-at-home policies enacted by the different understandings that they had regarding the coronavirus in April of last year. So you can see it does make a difference. This is kind of the basis of my new book with Barbara Hofer that is just published this week. Very exciting. It's called Science Denial, Why It Happens, and What to Do About It. And the themes from the book are relevant to the topic of sustainability, education, and communication. In particular, in the book, we discuss challenges and opportunities. Challenges like misconceptions, thinking and reasoning, the nature of science, mistrust of expertise, the presence of online mis and disinformation. But those are also opportunities that we have as psychologists that we can confront these misconceptions by debunking them. We can teach epistemic cognition, or how it is that you can think about knowledge differently. We can teach epistemic practices, those practices for how we can use knowledge, identify knowledge, and epistemic trust, how we can trust certain sources and which sources to trust. And we can teach students how to find those sources of accurate information online. There's also the challenges of the complexity of sustainability, the negative emotions it can evoke, and the motivated reasoning around it. We also talk about in-group, out-group identity, and of course there's climate anxiety. But these are also opportunities. We can teach about systems thinking, and we can support communications that the sustainability is a system. We can address negative emotions. We can advocate for reflection about our own motivations. We can use a shift in in-group membership to help people identify with a different group. And we can create opportunities for climate advocacy to reduce climate anxiety. There's a lot of misconceptions about sustainability. People think sustainability is about saving the environment, or it's all about recycling, or it's all just about consumer choices. It means we have to lower our standard of living and that new technologies will be the answer. But if you notice, these are all framed in this sort of sacrifice frame. And I think we need to frame in a more positive frame. For example, I have an e-vehicle and I love driving my e-vehicle. And it's fun, it's fast, it's sporty. It's not all about sacrifice. In terms of communications, we have to get away from this balanced reporting in our communication of research results, and certainly our communications about sustainability. This gives a disproportionate visibility to, say, science denialists, and exploits the uncertainty and creates manufactured doubt, a construct first put forth by Conway and Orestes. We have to promote an understanding of science in the digital world. Science denial is hardly new, but it's become amplified through social media. There's so much mis and disinformation out there. Online sourcing can be very difficult to assess for validity, accurately, and bias. And Doug Lombardi and I have an article out in Educational Psychologist about how to do that yourself and how to teach students to do that by evaluating evidence and judging the plausibility of that evidence. I think what we need to do is something I call creating the hat trick of change. When we're talking about controversial issues, there's three types of change we really need to create. Conceptual change to overcome misconceptions. We need to shift the valence of attitudes and emotions. I link these because they're linked in our research findings. And as I mentioned, we need to change people's thinking about the nature of science itself and the nature of knowledge, what we call epistemic conceptual change. We've done a lot of that in our research through refutational texts. A refutation text has a three-part structure where you state a misconception, refute it, and explain the scientific position. And these refutation texts not only shift knowledge, but they can shift attitudes. And we've done that with climate change. I think we can do it with sustainability. We currently have an NSF-funded refutation text meta-analysis with colleagues, and we're going to see if we can see what the evidence suggests about the effectiveness of this technique. We've also used social identity framing to shift in-group messaging. We know is much more persuasive than out-group, but you can shift what the in-group is from the out-group. We've compared communication strategies on water conservation. We used social norms, which is basically a deficit approach. You've probably gotten these reports from your own water company about your comparison to your neighbor's consumption. We shifted that and compared it to social identity frames, such as we Southern Californians, we conserve water. That's how you can shift that identity. We know for high water consumers, knowledge deficit approaches can backfire and result in greater water consumption. And that's what we found. We found the social identity framing was much more promising. Emotions are very important. We've seen this in our work in human-induced climate change with teachers. Teachers in the US are very similar to the general public in terms of their understanding and acceptance. And teachers' emotions get significantly involved in how they think about and judge plausibility perceptions of climate change, and this affects how they teach about topics like climate change. We also know that scientific uncertainty is a huge problem. People don't understand it. We've done some research showing that you can shift people's perceptions of the scientific evidence by helping them to understand uncertainty. We did this through a refutational text format. We did it in 2 countries, in USA and Germany, and that we found these texts were able to support readers' understanding of the nature of tentativeness and what that means for reporting research results of science, hopefully helping people understand that. I'm going to turn now to my colleague, Jennifer Gribben, to discuss a new study we're doing together.
Hello. So in 2019, USC undergraduates participating in a university values poll did not include sustainability in their top 10 values. And with the global climate crisis accelerating, increasing Gen Z activism, and more awareness of inequitable distributions of environmental burdens, we sought to understand undergraduate students' views on sustainability. And this study comes at a time when institutions across the nation are introducing new sustainability learning outcomes and requirements, including USC. Thus, surveying a sample of our undergraduate students ahead of our institution creating new course requirements would illuminate students' views of sustainability and inform sustainability learning objectives. So in April this year, we disseminated our survey to USC undergraduate students by directly contacting various student groups and asking them to share the survey with their members. And our survey asked students to rate the importance of a variety of values as a guiding principle in their lives. And the value survey used is a modified version of the environmental Schwartz value survey. We also had a set of open-ended questions, which asked students to describe sustainability, social justice, and environmental justice to the best of their ability. And today we'll just be talking about our questions and preliminary findings regarding our open-ended responses. The findings from our open-ended questions are meant to answer 2 research questions: how do undergraduate students view sustainability, and how well do students recognize and understand the role of sustainability in creating social equity? And our sample of 261 undergraduate USC students was mostly Asian and white women, and this makeup mostly reflects our undergraduate student population. So our sample was about evenly split among freshmen through seniors, and most participants were between the ages of 18 and 22. The majors that were the most represented in our sample included engineering, business, biological sciences, health and medicine, and psychology, neuroscience, and cognitive sciences. And we did see an overrepresentation of the sciences and business in our sample. But these results may reflect more interest in sustainability from these groups or be due to the makeup of the student groups who responded to my request to share the survey. So overall, our participants represented a total of 23 different majors. However, outside of the top 5 majors listed here, no other majors accounted for more than 6% of the sample. So from our preliminary coding of the open-ended questions, we found the 3 most common themes in how students describe sustainability. And the quotes here are key examples of these themes. So 1, we saw a lot of students mention protecting the environment as a key part of sustainability, which is our first theme, protecting or preserving the environment. We also saw students describe our second theme, ensuring survival of future human generations, as an important purpose of sustainability. And interestingly, we also saw almost a quarter of the preliminary coded responses not mention the environment at all, which is our third theme, descriptions that are not environmentally related. So in response to students being asked to describe social justice, we saw 3 clear specific themes emerge. Our first theme is equal opportunities for people. Our second is recognizing the historically marginalized. We also saw students make the point that social justice includes the treatment of people that is independent of their identity or societal labels, which was our third theme. And in our preliminary analysis, we also coded for equity and equality. And these are by far the most common concepts mentioned in our descriptions. And these are broader themes that encompass the more specific ones, such as the ones seen here. And for the question asking students to describe environmental justice, the 3 main themes indicated a clear line between those who understood the term as it has been defined by others, such as our theme of preventing inequitable environmental impacts on humans, versus those who had not heard of the term and were just describing the term to the best of their ability, which usually included a description of treating the planet justly. So a very direct interpretation of environmental justice. And these include the themes of protecting the environment and the fair and just treatment of the environment. So our preliminary analysis has uncovered several important findings. 1, undergraduate students views of sustainability vary widely, and that quite a few students do not conceptualize sustainability in regard to the environment at all. And as expected, few students included social justice concepts in their description of sustainability, indicating that most students do not understand the intersection of sustainability and social justice. Also, students either seem to know what environmental justice meant or they did not. So our next steps for this study include completing our analysis of the open-ended questions. Next, we will code the descriptions on a scale of quality. And with our quantitative data from the values survey we conducted, we will determine whether patterns in students' values can predict the quality of a student's description of sustainability. And finally, our findings will be used to direct the development of new learning objectives for sustainability at USC through our presentation of our results to the Education Committee of the USC Presidential Working Group on Sustainability. And obviously, there is more to come.
We'd like to thank you for joining us here today. Please contact us with any questions.